Okay, well, the meeting of the City Council for Wednesday, July the 30th, 6 o'clock, please come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
honor the precious flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, item 1.1, public announcements and comments. No one has signed up. Is there anyone late that wanted to speak? Okay, 2, workshop session. Review and discuss fiscal year 2025-2026 budgets for the City of Seabrook's operations, special funds, capital improvement program, and proposed tax rate based upon certified estimates rolls from the Harris County Appraisal District.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, we are in receipt since our last meeting of the certified estimated tax rolls. So we will go into just a little bit of the update on the values. It doesn't really change anything as far as the previously proposed balanced budget, so that's good. We didn't have to make any major shifts in expenses, but we will touch on the tax rate tonight. This is not the night that you will be approving this. We will have one more final certified roll that will come in that you will actually set that tax rate on. So this is just a recap with the added column to show you the certified estimated rolls. So we did have a little bit on gross of, we were at 2,393, we're at 2,243. However, after exemptions, we have a little over 2 billion that we're looking at as far as taxable. So yeah. So anyway, that is where we're at right now. Again, this is not going to change the mark as far as the revenues that we've got projected on your summary sheet for general fund, which is the fund that we are setting the tax rate for and getting the bulk of the revenues. So you're still at 6.9 million is our estimated, which is in your current packets now. We'll run through this. This is just the 101 that we talked about before, but as you get closer to September and finalizing, we'll have the certified rolls in August, and then we'll get closer to setting the final rate that will be published in the paper, and you'll take a roll call vote later in September. So M&O rate, your debt payments is the INS portion of your tax rate. No new revenue rate is where this budget is targeted. So again, you're familiar that cities have a 3.5% cap. We have not proposed this budget to take you outside of the comfort zone of the no new revenue rate, which is the lowest that we can balance from. And that's where we're at currently. Your current rate and the second column here for your no new revenue on your preliminary rolls, we did plug in the no new revenue for your certified. And again, this is all estimates. This could change again once we get the final roll in, but we are prepared to make sure the expenses are coming in at the NNR rate. August, I'll have your final rolls, and we'll have another meeting to discuss the actual final numbers. This is where we left off from our last council meeting, so I will jump into special funds unless Mayor, Council has any questions at this point.
Just one question on the estimated tax rate. Does that include the expense for the bonds for the pool and the fire and all?
Yes. So the bond of 23 is in there. We haven't sold the bonds for 24 yet, so there'll be another one. But the INS rate does include all the current debt payments estimated at this point.
Thank you.
And on that note, we'll go into special funds again as before. Please stop me if there's a specific question. Your first special fund in that second section of your budget book are Special funds for your debt fund is accompanied with the snapshot that you see here on the screen, which is the debt schedule of payments all the way through to your GO bond total, and that's where we back into your tax-supported debt payments. On the next few slides on the special funds, I've just clipped and we'll look at it from a high level of expenditures. We'll talk about what these special funds are earmarked for. We do have a couple of funds, as you probably note in the note section, that we've identified for some expenditures. A lot of our special funds, because they're so specific on certain items, we do expense that out. And then at current time, if the director that's responsible does not have an expenditure, gives us the flexibility, if it's in capital, that we'll come back and we'll talk to council about expenditures if needed. Oops, let me back up. So again, this is your debt service summary. Your 2.9 is the amount that we will be collecting based on the calculations that we're looking at and based on that schedule that we pay out on an annual basis that are GEO-backed. Your next fund is your hotel occupancy tax. Again, this is a 7% city that we derive 7% into the special fund for the city of Seabrook. We, at our meeting for looking at the sponsorship applications, looked at putting an additional $20,000 contingency plus all that you approved. So on that line item, I'll show you on the next slide, we've got that 179 budgeted. This department does have a mixture of personnel that is accounted for in the top section of personnel. And then I'll just kind of make sure that everyone's on the same page. So this fund for hotel occupancy tax in the red does indicate that you have a fund balance of $2.3 million. However, we do currently have an active incentive agreement with council coming out of your special fund for $1.2 million, and this is for the convention center project on NASA Parkway. This is your detail sheet. I know they're on the hot. This is usually more of some council discussion items, so I've put just what the detail is right now that we've got into that fund. Your advertising budget right now is $26,700. So we are working with staff to kick off Visit Seabrook, which would allow us to do what we did with the CVB when we were a member of that, have our own website and be able to do a tourism type kickoff. And so there's an expense that we've put and attached to that. Swag giveaway is also budgeted. This is for different events throughout the year. And then digital assets, there's some software that we use to manage the graphics and such. Your IT software, we have website hosting, social media archiving software, domain fees, and our constant contact, which helps with the newsletters or any type of advertising that we kick out. Arts is $51,550. This, a lot of you may or may not know. So the Pelicans were a project that was with a nonprofit, and several years ago that became our baby. And we have been budgeting around this $10,000 mark for some time now. Our staff person will work with any individual that needs assistance as far as rehabbing. If they need to purchase a new one, we have a fee schedule, and that is all kind of worked into the $10,000 right now. This, as we probably move on, this is going to need some additional attention based on council's level of how much we want to rehab the Pelicans that we have. So it's costing us to probably about $2,000 if they have anything that's hanging on them. And that's right now not an agreement that we have with the current owner. So if they decide to give up their Pelican, we have the Pelican retirement community over here. We usually get those. If they're in really bad shape, we have another place that we're putting those. But there is a cost associated with it, and we do have quite a few Pelicans now around town. So if the individual's not taking care of them and not paying for them, this is only probably going to be a liability that builds. So we have not moved the mark of the $10,000, but I just wanted to make mention of that this could be something that we could expand on in the future, or have a discussion this year if you want to.
Gail.
Yes.
So the current Pelicans, even the ones that were purchased privately, if we use, if they need to have work done to it, we would use that fund to refurbish them, or whoever originally purchased them be responsible for those repairs.
Ideally, it would have been nice if way back in the day we had created agreements that said, owner, it's yours, and they purchase it. So the owners are purchasing, I think it's around $3,000. And so it's a pretty big investment. So the idea would be if your clear coat starts to fade, you need a new paint job, all that kind of stuff. If you want to sink some money back into it, the ideal thing would be the owner steps up and does that. That's not always happening right now. And then some of them just become orphans, and so we're taking that in. But that orphans group is growing. So that's where I think we need to probably spend some more attention, depending on council and what we want to do with that project. Because as you know, $2,000 or $3,000 to do rehab on several of them, that can go through the 10,000 quite quickly. So we have not done a lot of work on them just because of the cost, and a lot of things going on with the hot funds in general. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys are kind of aware. There probably does need be some work on this project, and this would definitely be whatever the direction of council would push us in this one.
Pelican Graveyard, any estimate?
Oh, I do not know. What you see in front of the community house are the ones that are in decent shape and abandoned. And then I think we in the public works area.
Okay, thank you.
Under arts, we do have quite a bit of money earmarked for this year and for the projected year of going for murals. So we've heard a lot through different conversations that murals are something that we'd like to see more, especially in the old Seabrook area. So we're working on a couple of projects that we'll be bringing forth to council in our current budget, and we've slid this mural project over under the arts. There's only certain things that you can do under the arts section of this, so this is just basically a placeholder. So this is a good area that if council has different ideas, thoughts, direction, that we have some additional eligible projects we could put into this section. And lastly, signage. So we've talked a lot about signage. The council had authorized a sign stakeholder group to get together. So we completed our second meeting this week, and they'll be coming forth back to council with a recommendation report. And this HOT fund is a eligible fund, again, for signage. EDC is also. So this particular line does not reflect that larger number that we've talked about that's on your CIP. It's reflected as a possible EDC expenditure. So what we've earmarked right now is the ongoing wait and see hotel sign program. So again, this is a TxDOT signage program that we've got under this line item that would, based on previous council's decision, pay for the expenditures or the rentals that TxDOT requires for all the hotels coming off the highway. So $46,200 is that amount. There is a third party that manages that for TxDOT. We've reached out again and have not heard back from him to see if we have enough barrels out of the way that we can proceed with putting those signs up. So we'll probably carry this into the October 1 budget. So 46.2 is also in signage for your current budget.
Okay, Gail, paint me a picture on this one. Is this the big green signs that you see down the freeways that have stop for the Comfort Inn here and the Hampton Inn Suites here and exit such and such number? Did we discuss that allowing small businesses to restaurants and things like that to put their names up there, but they'd have to pay for their spot on the sign?
Right. So it's quite costly. I think it's around, ends up being close to $4,000 if you do southbound, northbound.
Okay.
And that's what the city's picking up for the hotels in this 46,200.
Okay.
We obviously have a number of restaurants and gas stations, and that was decided that, you know, the third party will reach out in a 3-mile radius to all of those businesses. And then those businesses will have to decide if they want to pay for the rental and buy their own placard. Okay. Yeah. Great. Any other questions on HOT?
Yeah, just one. Maybe I missed it in a different fund, but as far as advertising or promotion for events in the city, is there any kind of budget item that specifically goes into promoting things digitally through video or through social media or through our website? I see that we have advertising here for that specifically, but is there anything for like if we want to promote a certain event through hot funds, is there a history of doing that in the past that we scrubbed, or is there a placeholder that I've missed? But I feel like it seems to be missing where it's probably present somewhere else.
Right. We have done that in the past. When we belonged to CVB, a lot of their third party that they did as campaign marketing, we kind of were under their umbrella. So our first approach was, we hired a videographer and we've hired a full-time person out of the hot funds with the intent of trying to kick off the Visit Seabrook, create more media content in-house. But that is and is being used with a number of cities that you do a third party, that you could do more content with a specialized company. So it's definitely something we could look at.
And I assume a lot of these events do their own digital promotion as well, and just include our name in it as well. I was just curious.
Yeah, on the sponsorship packages in particular, they're required per the application to make sure that they advertise the Seabrook hotels. And then a lot of them, like Lucky Trails, took it upon themselves to do a number of videos throughout the community to highlight businesses as well. So that was kind of icing on the cake. But there is like certain things that they do have to advertise through their websites to get the sponsorship money.
Thank you.
So along those lines on the Visit Seabrook, where is that 16,300 going? Is that just for our website that's going to link onto our city website where people click on it in a tab and then go to that? Or is this something completely different?
It'll be a separate website. I mean, we'll have it hyperlinked at the proper time off of our website, but you can also get to it with its own address as well.
Okay.
All right. Moving on, our next special fund is Fund 5. This is your seizure fund of state funds. This is a seizure fund that was established to account for seized drug money, property, and it's used solely for law enforcement purposes. And we've done a capital outlay on this. We don't have anything forecasted for this year. And again, because it's very specific when you go into the law of exactly the type of equipment and such that you can buy with it. This one is earmarked for the chief, in particular if something comes up. So from time to time, we do have equipment needs throughout the year that we haven't budgeted for. So that's what this one is kind of on hold for. Law enforcement education, again, same type of fund that is derived, and we have to set it aside. So this one, the services is something, education grant is something that we just budget for on a year-to-year basis. Child safety program, this is off of citations. We get a fee, so this is the revenue that drives into this is what we're paying with our crossing guard. So one thing to note on here, we actually had a reduced rate for the crossing guard, so we're at $12,500, but this is the fund that we are taking it out of. And this is for, if you may or may not know, so we contract exactly or directly with CCISD for the two crossing guards that you see off Meyer and I'm drawing a blank on the other one, over off of Lakeside. So those two guards are paid for by the city out of this special fund. Your STEP program, I think we mentioned this last time with Chief. So STEP is different than the personnel STEP that we've mentioned, but this is your select traffic enforcement program. At the top of that, for personnel, this is if they're doing traffic enforcement specifically, we can code this and do typically for overtime, and that's what we've been using this historically for. Public safety fund. So on your water bills, hopefully everyone's familiar with this, but unless you opt out, the city is collecting $3 per month on your utility bill, and this is gone into a special fund. It was set up years ago. There's an internal committee that's formed, and we look at budgetary items that are not able to get appropriated in department or the volunteer fire department. And we've also worked with BASERT, which is our volunteer team for emergencies as well. We all meet annually, and it comes back over to City Council in January or at the beginning of the year. So it's separate than the budget process that we're going through right now. And if that is approved, then these funds are completely separate than the director's normal budgets. This year, I would like to pause on this particular one. So we typically will come back to council with probably 12 to 14 items from each one of those departments that I mentioned. We usually have fire department, public works, PD, EMS, and they have small to medium-sized projects that we bring back. Council will approve that recommendation, and we go off. We do have two particular capital needs that have been raised this year with me, and so the volunteer fire department was one of those. And I think we've got, Andy's available. So I've talked with Kevin Rogers. Our emergency services director is in charge typically with this department or this special fund. So he's in charge of getting the committee together every year, making the recommendations for all of the expenditures. And so we've talked, and he's talked to the committee. This year, you can tell the fund balance on this is very healthy. It's just over projected to be $202,000. And so with the volunteer fire department coming up on a very aged boat, I made the recommendation to look at this fund and bring it to City Council in lieu of trying to take this out of general fund or reserves of any sort. And it certainly can't be easily added to their budget. And as you can tell, looking at the description of what this was set up to be, this would be a good expenditure should council desire. The committee is in agreement that they would be in support of doing a one lump sum equipment purchase out of this fund. So I'll stop there. Andy's available for any questions that you may have on this particular expenditure.
Andy, is that the boat that, you can shake your head, is that the boat that's sitting in there that's the Zodiac that's like 15 years old or something crazy?
It's 25 years old.
Yeah, okay, I was wrong. I knew you'd have the numbers for me. Okay, thank you. Hey, Gail, being that this is a public safety issue, can we look at EDC for this instead of taking it out of general fund?
This is not your general fund. This is all the utility, extra $3 goes into a separate pot. So this doesn't impact your
Oh,
general.
yeah, okay. So can we look at EDC to do it instead of this one?
Well, I would just ask the question why, because this is just, this fits the purpose as far as the eligible projects.
This is the only project they have?
Well, this is probably the most highest in priority for this year. We always come up with small, we've bought message board signs, traffic cones, smaller
this fund?
project out of this fund.
I
So,
gotcha.
Yeah, so I don't think, based on my staff, no one has identified that there is a need that I would need to keep that in play, particularly for this year, given that we're so healthy and it's an eligible fund that we could actually pull this from.
Yeah, it does say public safety fund in big letters, not general fund. Sorry, yeah.
Okay.
So
Gail, Gail, on this boat, is this boat the one with the bumpers? Is that was that the idea for this one?
I think, no. So we have a police department boat that we'll talk about here in a few minutes that does not have any kind of protective bumpers around it right now. Andy, yours does right now, but it's just the age of this one.
This is a rigid hull inflatable, and so it's got a hard bottom, and then the gunnels are inflatable. So the boat was purchased 25 years ago. Sees pretty regular activity during the summer months.
Andy, do you mind coming up there and then just kind of explain a little bit more of how y'all use that boat, how often you use it, training, et cetera?
Yeah. This one? Yeah. Okay, can you hear me? So the
Yes.
fire department has 3 boats, and really each boat is mission specific. So our largest boat is our fireboat. That's the one that we keep in the water, and that's really for rescues extremely far offshore as well as firefighting. We also use it on large fires if we need to supplement our water supply if it's within the water area. So that's our largest boat. The boat we're talking about tonight is our mid-sized boat. So that's a rigid hull inflatable boat. And this boat is primarily a rescue boat, so we call it Rescue Boat 10. It also does a lot of search and rescue, so it's not uncommon for us to get called mutual aid assistance from other agencies. The Coast Guard will mutual aid us because it's great for the water really in the proximity, so Taylor Lake area as well as, parts of Galveston Bay. We keep this trailered in the station, and that's how we've been able to get the number of years. Most ribs, depending on the size, anywhere from 10 to 15, and then you just start to really have problems as well with the integrity of the rib portion. And then our third boat is our small water rescue. That's primarily a flood rescue boat. So that's the small Achilles, looks like a little Zodiac, the red thing. So this boat is probably our most operationally used boat just because it fits a lot of specific missions for us. And so we spend a lot of time in the summer months on this boat.
I have a question. What about the other communities nearby? Do they have the same capacity or capabilities?
Yeah, great question. It's a mix. So it's really, we try to coordinate, but it's a bit of a hodgepodge, truly. So Nassau Bay has a boat. They have a very small boat, and then they've outfitted a slightly larger boat that is good for certain things. The great thing about this boat is we're able to deploy it on a trailer pretty easily. So we can deploy it from a trailer, so we can move it. Back 15 years ago, we actually were up in Houston during several hurricanes, mutual aiding Houston and other parts, up north with the rivers and the lakes up there when they flood. Kemah has a boat. They have I think it's I can't remember what they have, but it's not a fireboat anymore. It's been out of service for some time with the pumping capacity on it. League City has a small fireboat that's about, I think it's about a 1,500 GPM. Our boat is a large, it's about 3,000 GPM pump on that boat. So the other areas do, depending on every area over the last 10 years in particular has added boats. This particular boat, like I said, we've seen a lot of action with it because we're able to trailer it. We can move it wherever we need to up and down the coast. And then because of just the nature of how the boat operates, it can get out into the Gulf pretty quickly for us.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask, what becomes of the old boat if we vote to approve this? Does this go to auction? Is it sold? And if so, where does that money go?
That's on our schedule, correct? Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Should be.
So we have a mixture. That's a good question. The volunteer fire department has a mixture of equipment. Some is theirs, some is the city's. So as a city equipment, all of ours that we take out of service is going to an online auction, and then that money will go back into the city's coffers.
So it'll go back into Fund 14, or will it go back into general?
Let me ask my.
Usually, I know other cities, it's general, but I don't know what.
Yeah, it goes back where it was purchased from. So it was likely purchased from the general fund. I don't know offhand, but that's where the money would likely go back into.
Okay, thank you. So essentially that money could go towards all of the additional costs that we're expecting for the new EMS fire station to offset us dipping into the stabilization fund? Like, is that possible?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'd probably resale value even we're getting a lot more on auctions than we used to. But I don't know what the original cost on that was. You usually get about 10%.
It was 5 years before my time, so.
Okay.
Not even sure.
It's 25 years old. So, we maybe get 20, 30,000. That would be great, but it wouldn't be, we can definitely look at if that's a transfer back into capital, we could look at that. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question on the overall public safety fund. So we've been $3 a water bill for like 15 years. I know a lot of neighboring cities have similar funds. Have we ever compared us to other cities and kind of see where they're at and see if maybe have the discussion of increasing the monthly donation?
That is a great question. We did several years ago. It's probably been over 3 years ago. We did a survey, and even back then, it was low. I think at that particular budget season, we were dealing with rate hikes on water and wastewater, and it was not a good time. So we did not even. I think we did have a conversation with the current council, and everyone decided it wasn't a great time. So that when we did that survey, we were low. There was maybe, if I recall correctly, a few cities that did 3. Most of them were in the 5 and I think $6 and even a $7. So yes, we could update that if y'all would want to look at doing that, if that's, council's direction.
I mean, yeah, I think that definitely is something for us to look into. Just, I mean, it's a great fund. It helps a lot of other departments, and $3 a month is nice. But I mean, if we can kind of get an average of what our area cities that have the same fund are at, and kind of see where we're at. So I don't know if that's something that we can kind of have city staff maybe look into, just to kind of have some hard numbers for the future.
Yeah, and on that note, I mean, Andy and Nathan and I have talked. They've got expenditures that are kind of worked into the budget now, but the new bill that's requiring protective clothing, I think to your question, there's obviously always going to be use in those all the departments that I told you about that we usually get around the table and talk about. But I do think in talking with Andy and Nathan, the protective clothing requirement that they're going to be faced with now and the change out, I think that would definitely help give us another funding option. And Andy, you want to just tell them a little bit about what you guys are facing on that one?
Yeah, sure. So there's, so everyone's aware, there's a lot of, if you've been watching the news at all, there's a lot of increasing information around cancer and cancer in the fire service. And so we've looked at, we typically try to maximize the use of our protective gear. And so there's an NFPA standard that depending on that, it should not exceed 10 years of service. And so what that means is even if we've maintained it, we've done advanced cleaning and inspection every single year, it hasn't seen significant, at that 10-year mark, we're having to take it out of service. And so there's a regular life cycle to that gear. The bunker gear is expensive, and so it can run anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 a set just to outfit a firefighter. And so the other piece to that is the ensemble includes hoods, gloves, things like that, that we try to make sure they're regularly maintained. And if we start to have questions, we just throw them out and replace it. The intent being, again, because we want to be able to make sure that our firefighters are protected and they have clean gear. So it is an expense. It's gotten more expensive in the kind of post-COVID era when there were supply chain challenges, delivery of these things, the long lead, it has taken a long time. And so we, again, try to very proactively look at what are we anticipating having to replace the coming year and stay ahead of that a little bit. But it is a challenge. The other expense that Gail and Nathan and I talked about, Chief Douglas, is we're looking at it changing how we do our firefighter physicals this year as well. And so that would also be a bit more expensive, but that's not in the equipment and gear, that's on on how we do physicals. Again, all in the intent of what we try to stay ahead of or stay where, the fire service is and where the trends are telling us we need to be looking, so.
This is the boat that's undercover on the trailer, is that correct?
It is, yes, sir. So
what's the condition of the one that's in the marina?
So like any boat, it's a hole in the water in which you dump money.
Yes.
But we do a good job of maintaining that. We've got a couple members in our fire department, one that's actually a licensed captain, and so she's responsible for that boat as well as someone else. And so that boat actually, we do a really good job of maintaining it. Depending on the year and depending on what the repairs is, it can range anywhere from $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year to keep it operational. It's got 2 large engines. We have made some changes to the boat to reduce some of the operating costs. When we originally purchased the boat, it actually had a foam system on it. And what we found was that was just something that we didn't need. We thought we might, and as our mission has evolved, we realized we didn't need that, and so we've taken that off. And so that's reduced some of the operating cost. But with the 2 large engines, we take the boat out, every now and then it'll have, an issue that we need to take it out of the water. So it can run anywhere from, like I said, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year to make.
So you're considering keeping it?
We do, yes, sir.
And are you using it for what, as a pumper?
We do. So it's a great boat because it's very, unlike our other boats that are, I'd say, difficult to work off, it's a great platform, right? And so we have done things like, if you remember the Hampton Inns fire several years ago, water supply on that fire was a challenge, so we actually pulled it up and ran 5-inch supply lines across the highway to supply fire trucks. This year, we've actually used it several times with EMS, patients out on the water that were in the boats out on the water that we needed to get to land-based ambulance. And so because of the size of the vessel, we're able to put our paramedics on board, take them out with us. It's got 2 Stokes baskets, so we can actually transport and manage 2 patients at a time in the boat. It's got a 3,000 GPM pump, so it's a really versatile vessel. We don't like to, but if we have to, it's got infrared capabilities, so we can operate the vessel at night. We've operated it for extended periods of time on night search and rescues for missing persons, missing vessels. So it's a pretty flexible, versatile platform for us to operate off. And really, it's when we designed it to kind of fill all those potential scenarios. So that Taylor Lake scenario, as well as that Gulf scenario.
So how old is that boat?
Oof.
I guess the point I'm asking is this going to be another replacement in a year or 2 from now? Or?
No, sir. Probably not a year or 2. I know. I can't remember. I know we have it in our capital plan. Gail, I just don't know what year we
do. I mean, this one's over 20 years as well.
Yeah.
But this one's a metal-based boat, so it's got a little bit more life, I think.
It does. We don't. We've done a great job of maintaining that, and so even though it is 20-something years old, but it's a metal vessel, and so it's pretty robust.
Well, I think the fireboat, the one that you're talking, the one you keep over at Lakewood, that one I want to say was like 2012, 2013 was when we took delivery of it, and it's about 12, 13 years old.
Yeah, I apologize. I don't remember what year we put it in service.
I had to Google it.
Did you? There you go.
Any other questions? Thank you.
All right. Was any other questions on that? And I guess for general direction, is council open to having staff update a survey and bringing this back to you to look at additional utility fee increase on this one, or? Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be the right thing to do, just whenever you can get it done.
Okay. We'll bring that back. Okay, your next special fund, this is your Carruthers Coastal Gardens Fund, Fund 41. So we've talked a lot about this in the past. This is your fund that was set up when those bonds were taken out. The insurance proceeds are what you're seeing in that budget 2026 column for $246,000. Your recent approval of a bid project for the East Track for the grading, drainage, trail construction is going to be coming out of this fund. So your capital outlay reflects clearing those balances out with that project. Any questions? Okay. Park Improvement Fund. This is a fee that's derived. Each developer, builder, or property owner is required to pay a parks fee in lieu of a dedication of land. So these funds do have special projects that they can be directed towards playgrounds, development of new parks, line items for donations for benches, and the Veterans Memorial is also a line item that we've put into this since it's park related. So if you've gone to the Veterans Memorial events, we usually do a promotion that if a family member wants to buy a brick or a plaque, they can do that. This is where when that deposit comes in, we put the deposit there and then we can expense that out. We also have on the website an opportunity, and many people have taken advantage of this, is to do bench donations. So again, it's a pass-through, and it keeps all of those costs in this particular fund area. Right now, oh, go ahead.
Was that earmarked for a future flag earning to be a private donation project
If I understood
at the
you,
memorial?
not sure if I caught all that. For
The flag burning pit for the old flags.
Trying to remember if we took that. Way back when council was looking at the fire burning pit, the idea was that was going to be all raised funds by a third party or the Boy Scouts or something like that. So we weren't really looking for,
Okay.
right, for an expenditure location on that one.
Okay.
This is an estimate, so at the very beginning of this, you can see we traditionally not, unless there's a lot of subdivisions going on at the same time for new home builds, we're still keeping our estimate at, with interest, around 11,200. In the expense side, we are not proposing this year to do anything. Just as a historical on this one, the last 10 years or so, we built up around 100,000, and you can kind of see back in 2022 and just prior to that, when we got to about the 100,000 mark, your new playgrounds, for just to kind of give you a line of reference, Friendship Park and was one of them. So to do a playground like that, you're looking at approximately, I think it was $120,000. Yeah, so that's probably small to medium-sized playground, and so that's traditionally what we've done. We can take different things out of it, but right now that's what we've been working towards, trying to make sure that we keep all of the playground equipment as current as we can.
So Gail, this, like the basketball parks, like the one behind Lake Cove and those, like, can this be applied to update stuff like that as well?
One behind, like, on Rep Store? Mm-hmm. That one. Actually, we were just talking about that. So on the surface, is that what you're talking about, the surface?
Yeah, it's just beat up.
Yeah, they were just talking. So we've got the new restroom installed, and they've taken a look at that. So they're actually getting, I think we've found funds in this current fiscal year out of the Parks Fund. They're going to try to squeeze that resurfacing in. But yes, we could do something like out of this fund as well.
Okay, last question, I promise. The skate park, does that fall under this as well?
Escape. In Meadow
I
Park?
use the term loosely, but at Rexmeter,
Yes.
the skate park facility, that's kind of a liability.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's part of the park system. So I mean, any upgrades or improvements we could take out of this.
Okay, I'd like to discuss that further in the future.
Okay.
Thank you.
And really, I mean, right now would be great. If you have some ideas that you want to throw on the table, it would be helpful for us to know, and then staff can kind of start working on some ideas, costs, et cetera.
Yeah, I've taken my boys there for a very long time to play, and I actually had a middle schooler come up to me during the election and ask me about it, and his plan was to pass out flyers to bring attention to that skate park. But it's ragged, and it truly is. I mean, I've seen kids skating on it, and I watch like this, so maybe to look into what it would cost to update or at least make it safe. That's my opinion.
I know we've done a lot of the lips, it is older, so they've done some concrete work. We dressed it up with murals in the past. There had been prior discussions, I think, of trying to expand that, totally wiping it out and starting new, which is obviously that'd be a huge cost. So I know there are special companies within the municipal world that just do skate parks, so that might be something that we can just explore to see what recommendations that they would have, given the current footprint, and see what we could do. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, your next special fund is the Animal Shelter Donations Fund 44. This are actually what it says, donations coming into the Animal Control Department in the shelter. So we don't get huge amount. You can follow the donations line there. You can see that really on forecast for your current budget. We haven't seen anything. Looks like we had a small accounting correction in 23. And then we do from time to time have families that feel very passionate about animals. So we've gotten some sizable donations in the past. Right now we have slid through the materials and supplies costs. We don't have specific projects right now directly tied to that. And that's sort of a placeholder. The ending balance right now with those projected expenses are $8,552. So it's still healthy. And I know Dwayne is thinking about a couple of projects, I believe, at the shelter. So,
Was there a part of the funds that were microchipping, either a debit or did we? Where are we on that project? In other words, are we collecting any money from that?
Are you up to? I know we had the initial batch of chips that we bought. I'm not sure how they're doing as far as progress on that one.
We did buy a batch of chips, I believe that was sometime last year, and he's been using those exclusively to register animals and get them chipped.
And those are free, or are those with the registration, the $25
They're
registration?
free.
They're free.
If the owner wants to register them with the company, they may, and then they get charged a fee.
Okay.
But for us to implant them with the chip and it be recognizable so it ties back to the shelter, that's free to us.
You have any idea how many we've done?
I do not.
All right, these next 5 funds all come from citations. They're minor revenues. I didn't take the liberty. They're in your packets. Most of these are earmarked, again, for capital as needed for the director if it falls within the law to use it for something. So I just put these titles on there. So if you guys have any questions, if you've highlighted anything or marked any notes on anything, please let me know. But I'm not going to run through these specifically. All right, the next 2 funds are what Mike and I've mentioned this a couple of times, as far as financial planning for our city. These 2 replacement funds for all of your general fund vehicles and all of your public safety vehicles, including EMS, and then we just kicked off when we started buying the new fire trucks to start amortizing for that as well. So this is huge. It's a huge cost if you look at the amortization cost of all your departments and put that together. However, it's going into either your general fund replacement or your public safety replacement fund. And we are able now to, on a regular basis, turn these vehicles over on either a 7-year or 10-year replacement program. And these expenditures can make or break an entire general fund budget. So this, when I talk about huge, this is huge in making sure that we've now worked it into a more balanced amortization cost that the departments are capturing. The fund, as you can tell, is extremely healthy. Looking at this snapshot here on budget 2026, we're looking at a little over $600,000 for this current fiscal year to come out of the fund. You can see that takes a hit on the fund balance, but it still remains healthy. This one is one that we were, as mentioned earlier, if any of these vehicles are coming out of rotation, they are put on the online auction. And the online auction is helping the city get back a lot more on those sales than we have typically in the past. So that accounts for a little bit of what we're running a little bit higher than normal in our fund balance. But long term, Mike has this forecasted for the next 20 years. So it looks healthy, but it's just depending on the age of these vehicles, we can have, as this year, we've got a $600,000 expense. We may have almost $1 million in a couple of years. So just wanted to point out this is a long forecasted plan, but a very significant one that has given some financial stability, I think, to the city long term. And this is a snapshot at your public safety side of it. So again, we have 2 different funds. This one's for all the vehicles in public safety. And again, we're forecasting for budget 2026, again, another $400,000. And the overall budget balance remains very healthy at over $700,000. PEG fund. So this is one that a couple years ago with the outfitting of the cameras for this room specifically, we had a lot of conversation on. But this is a special fund. These funds are received from cable providers, and they can only be spent on eligible projects. So we did a nosedive into the state law and really educated the council at the time of the different things. In short, I've got a note here for equipment and one-time purchases. So anything that can be put on the city's cable channel, this is getting viewed, and we have it broadcast through that channel. we can do expenses if they're one-time purchases. These funds will not allow us to do ongoing expenditures. So in other words, when we have, for instance, we've got agreements for software that runs the live feed, those type of things cannot be in this fund. So we absorb those into the general fund, but we can do one-time expenditures as the cameras, the microphones, anything that will be broadcast on that cable channel. Impact fees. This is Fund 19. This is, again, when you've got a new, particularly on new builds, you have water, wastewater. This fee is assessed on those new developments, and it's for recouping and funding our capital improvements, our facility, or other expansions. So when we talked about the CIP, this is a funding column, Fund 19, that we look at to do a lot of our water line replacements and our wastewater line replacements. And if we need to expand into an area, this is also another good funding option to look at. But these fees, you will later on this year be looking at what we call our master fee schedule. And on this master fee schedule, we will list out all the impact fees. And they can be quite sizely. So if you have a large development coming in based on meter size, they can pay several $1,000s into this fund. So it depends on the size of the development. Even single family residents, it's a costly fee. But when you look at the overall infrastructure it takes to the city once it ages to replace something like that, this is what we use, and this comes into play when we're looking at our capital improvement project program. This is a snapshot of your budget that you've got on this one. So we've got, at this particular point, nothing earmarked. So we're kind of looked at this as a very conservative. We've got a little over $3 million. And there's a couple of projects right now that we're looking at long-term. So our water and wastewater projects can be several $1 million. So we look, well into the 10-year realm of where's this next project going to be? When will we have enough money to do that project? So this is more of a long-term planning tool that we use for this fund on the impact fees. Capital Drainage Fund. This fund is a dedicated capital improvement fund that was used by the city to finance major drainage infrastructure projects. So many years ago, we took this out, and we had originally looked at doing some major drainage in the east side, and we had a public hearing, and that did not go as planned. So there was a project that was delayed, pushed way out in the future. And so we've been looking at other drainage, smaller drainage projects, and this is where we've been taking a few of those out. So for your budget 2026 column right now, we're not, for this fiscal year, not looking at doing anything additional out of that fund right now, but we are looking in the future to look at a few additional drainage programs. As we mentioned, the list of other funds, these special funds, we could be here for a long time, so I'm just going to touch on these. Again, all of the detail is in your budget packet, so if you have any questions, please stop me. These are from debt issues, but we've got Fund 29, which was a 2016. So again, we take those proceeds, they're held in special funds, so you can see the in and out of the debts, the interest, the payment, or the expenditure for the capital project. And you've got Fund 30, that's for 2003, 2005, and 2008. This was the issuance that we did for the water tank near Lakeside, and when the city went from the manual meters to the smart meters that we have currently. Fund 33 is for our fire truck bonds in 2024. And Fund 35 is our 2024 certificates of obligation for street repairs, reconstruction, and rehab. And lastly, our capital projects, we have a separate project for 2016, and that was tied to the Pine Gully wastewater treatment plant. Your Economic Development Corporation, the numbers that are in your packet currently have not been seen or approved for the next fiscal year. So these are placeholders right now. But as a recall, this is your quarter-cent sales tax that was voted in many years ago and is in the Economic Development Corporation Fund. It is a separate corporation, and the funds are separate and distinct from your general fund. Eligible projects for a Type B corporation are streets, roads, drainage, and related improvements, demolition of existing structures, and generally a municipality or municipally owned improvements to include infrastructure projects, maintenance, operating costs associated with the project. So in all, through the history of the corporation, I know some of you may be aware, the corporation did tackle raising waterfront. That was a pretty significant project that they have done in the past. They did and are paying for the water tank relocation on Lakeside. So when we looked at the debt issuance, when you look at the corporation's funds, there's a transfer, and they have stepped up, paid for the water infrastructure. However, they've never taken out debt on their own. So at the time, bond counsel recommended that the city take the debt out and then do a transfer from the corporation. So the corporation's essentially paying for that infrastructure, but the city's bond rating is making the interest much lower. And again, these numbers are subject to change after our August meeting with the city council, but the green bar highlights that your corporation is very healthy right now. We do have a $2 million reserve for an incentive program on their side. So that is part of this, but overall the fund and the corporation is extremely healthy.
Gail, so by that definition that you gave for EDC, can those funds contribute to the pier?
Be a quality of life, so yes, they could.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Crime District, and Chief, I'm going to put you a little bit on podium here. So this is our second boat ask. So again, we've got 2 boats and 2 directors that came to me with significant needs. I'll let Chief talk a little bit about the condition of his current boat and why he's brought this back. As far as funding, the proposed budget that we're coming out of your crime district, this is an additional sales tax revenue that's not part of your general fund. This fund is doing very well and healthy and could take this expenditure. So this is a recommendation. But Chief, if you will, just kind of explain a little bit more about your operations and your current condition of your boat.
Sure. Thank you. As Gail mentioned, this is to replace a 12-year-old vessel. It's a Boston whaler, which is not a bad watercraft. It's not designed specifically to withstand what police put equipment through. So having it out on the water a lot, having it out in the elements a lot, it gets its fair share of sun. So it's degraded over time, and it could last a few more years. However, it's not the best platform. Throughout the industry, everyone has gone to, as Andy explained earlier, a rigid hull with an inflatable collar, especially for police work. It gives us the ability to come alongside a vessel, get up next to them, and it provides a really stable platform for us to work on. And if we have to bring people on board our vessel or move over to their vessel, it's a lot more stable environment for us to operate in. The watercraft that I'm looking at and that we got pricing on is about the same size as far as length and beam. However, it's got a capacity that's about 60% greater. So if we have to be used in rescues, taking people off boats before storms, without going in and out repeatedly, we can take 60% more people with each run. So we would be a lot more efficient in that if we're helping the fire department or operating on our own. Again, back to enforcement. Our enforcement activity on the lake has increased dramatically just since I've been here, and I anticipate it will increase more. We're not the only one on the water, but we are I would say that we're on the water more than any other police department that works on the lake. I would like to increase that because of the issues that we've had going on the lake. However, without the proper vessel and with an aged vessel, it makes it more challenging. We've been out probably 5 times in the last 3 weeks. The last time we went out, as he was bringing it back to put it on the trailer, he lost steering. So now it's in the shop, and we have 0 boats. So we can't do anything until we get that repaired.
So where is that boat kept at? Is it a trailered boat?
It's trailered, and it's kept in the secure lot right now behind the police
And
department.
the picture we have here is the old boat.
No, that's our current boat.
That's the current boat.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so the boat that you're considering is similar to the fireboat, isn't it? Like the rib that they have? But with a buoy, some type of bumper system?
It's kind of like a hybrid between their rib rescue boat and the fireboat. It's got a center console. It's collared like their fireboat is. It's not, it's kind of between the two. That's the best explanation I can give you. But also, it's designed for a police mission and not a fire or a rescue mission.
One more question. So when the fireboat goes out, doesn't the police boat usually follow? Or don't they go out as well? When you make a call,
In some instances, we have, but I think more often than not, and Andy can correct me if I'm wrong, we either go with them or they're responding to something because we can't.
but maybe in the future, might be part of it, because right now,
Yes.
I mean, we have an accident on National Road 1, fire truck goes, police department goes, EMS, I mean, everybody's there.
Yes,
We don't have that same opportunity on the water.
That is
It seems
correct.
like you even have a more treacherous situation on the water because of being water, right?
I would agree.
Yeah. One of the things that I just wanted to mention is that I know that most people know, and the members of the council know, that we do have 4 large marinas in Seabrook, and we are covered by water on 2 sides, which means that we have about 25 to 3,000 boats. And now with all the stuff we see at Cabos, for example, jet skis and boats that they're renting, and party boats and such, I think it's imperative that we have some type of presence on Clear Lake and in the bay, would be my feeling.
Thank you for that vote of support, sir.
How many officers do you currently have that are Marine certified?
We have 4 that are currently Marine certified and are up to date. We have 9 total. The other 5 are lacking some training that they need to catch up on, but we're also trying to train boat captains. So we've got 2 boat captains that are in training right now, so that we've got, and then we will have 4. We've only got 2 now.
And do you know the production time for one of y'all's boats?
The different vendors that I'm looking at, they've been from we have them in stock to a year. So I would say probably 6 to 9 months to be safe.
Okay.
So this is,
Chief, is this police boat, one that would stay in the water? Is that the intent?
My
new one?
plan is to put the new one in the water. It's going to be an aluminum bottom boat, so it'll do better in the water than a fiberglass, and probably keep it in the water our busiest months of the year. So probably 5 to 6 months out of the year, it would be in the water.
Okay. You don't have a spot for it yet, though?
Pardon me?
You don't have a spot for it yet?
No, sir, not yet.
No? Okay. All right. Thank you.
okay, so just that I'm clear, it's in addition to the current boat we have.
No, we would be
They'll only have one?
auctioning. Yes, correct.
I'm not sure if this is a you question or a Mike Gibbs question, but do you know what we're currently paying on maintenance for this older boat a year?
It's not huge because we haven't had it out a lot, but I would say on the order of probably $5,000 to $7,000 a year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
But the more the boat gets used, you would expect higher maintenance costs on the boat, just with
I expect probably a couple of thousand just on this last incident.
Okay, this is my ignorance on how this all works. So why wouldn't we have another boat in addition to this one if we have more calls expected in the future? I mean, this is my ignorance on it, but why wouldn't we just have 2 boats instead of 1?
Part of it, there's a number of reasons. That's a good question, but there are a number of reasons. One is trained personnel to man those boats. Overall staff to man 2 vessels at once. And also with an aged boat that's really not designed with current technology in mind to be more versatile as well as better longevity. I anticipate that it would be out for repairs probably more than it would be in the water. So then we'd be fighting the battle of, okay, well, now we've got to pull this one out of the water and trailer it to somewhere and then go back to the station and get the other boat. And I think we'd be wasting a lot of man hours playing jockey for the 2 boats. Whereas one would be, one of the new platforms would be a lot more reliable, a lot more stable, and all we would have to do is maintain it to keep it up. And then we could get to the lake, get to a call much faster without any interruptions.
This might be a dumb question, but do these boats, like when they're purchased municipally, do they come with warranties of any sort? Like, would that reduce maintenance cost, like at the front
They
end?
do, but most of them are only a year.
Okay.
So is the intention to have somebody out on patrol, that's why it's going to be kept in the water? Or to be able to get to things faster?
To be able to get to things faster.
Okay.
It takes a few moments, actually probably 20 to 30, just to hook up, get it trailered over there, get it in the
Got
water.
it.
I think one thing too you have to remember as well is the busier times of the year, like the summer times, like trying to get to like offload a boat at like Clark Park is going to be more difficult because it's already going to be full of boats. Whereas like our fire boat, we keep it in the water so that the crew just has to go to the station and then we will respond to Lakewood and we're able to get out there. Whereas having to like deal with trailering it and like kind of what Chief said, trying to find a place to launch it would delay a response by a good deal amount.
Do we rent the slip from Lakewood, or do they provide that to us?
I believe we don't pay for that. We've always had that. Yeah. I think it's just been a volunteer type. Yeah. We've never, as long as I can remember, we hadn't paid for it. Yeah.
So theoretically and hopefully they would give us, yeah, okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief.
On the crime district fund, is that another quarter tax, quarter percent sales tax? Is that how that's
Right.
funded?
Yeah. So the city gets 1.5 and then the 0.5 that's left is split between your crime and your economic development corporation. All right. The other portion, bulk, comes out of your crime district is we do have police officers and supervisors that are part of the personnel services. So you can see just over $700,000 in personnel services. So we do have personnel that's attached to this particular fund. We've got the boat put in there as well. And then services, again, this largest part of the driver on this section is amortization. So the fund that we just talked about as far as replacement fund, we do take a lot of the amortization costs for the public safety vehicles out of this fund. So that's part of your expenditures on crime district.
Does the crime district fund have to be renewed by vote ever, or is it, how was it set up?
I need to check on that. We did an extension. We did it in 2010, and then there was ability, I think, in 2015 to do a longer extension and not have to go back every 5 years. But at some point, I think it's 20 years out. So, yeah. So it's probably 35, I think, is coming up.
But I know, like at work, we just renewed all of our funds to like I think like 20 years now. So I didn't know if this was up for renewal by voters anytime soon, or if or where we were at on the status of it.
I will double check, but I think we are in that extension period, our 20-year period, so we're still not very close at this point. All right. So that concludes all of the the special funds. Again, I did not go into specific ones that were lower dollar amount, so I'll just kind of stop right there, see if there's any specific questions. This is still an agenda item that's open. I didn't pull up our previous departments that we talked about in our other workshop, but that is up for discussion. So if there's any questions, I'll just open up the floor at this time.
I just had one more question I forgot to ask. I know you recommended getting the excavator, that ours was old, and that typically comes out of like CIP. So is that where you were proposing that to come out of, or were you trying to get that from the stabilization?
So that would be a dream if we could get a replacement program in place for what we would call mobile equipment. So our insurance carrier identifies the excavator as mobile equipment. We do not have a replacement program for that. And that's why it's on that separate list. Right now, we are not showing that we've got the revenue to look at that specifically in the current funds. It could be, as we're wrapping the budget process up in August, once we get the final rolls in, I plan on coming back. If council's comfortable, we can look at whatever our projected surplus is and pull some of that from surplus funds if we want to go ahead and make that purchase. Or if we don't, then we'll postpone it. I'd love to look at that. We did not get the opportunity this year. When we set up the other two replacement programs, you have to have a good chunk of seed money to set up the replacement program and then start that amortization schedule. So we do have quite a bit of public works equipment that is very costly, and that would be something that we're going to try to work towards in the future, is trying to build that up and hopefully establish that. But right now, it gives you a good look at 20 years ago when we had police vehicles and public work vehicles. These kind of expenditures were even higher than this, and they would come in as a balloon need, and a council at the time would have to figure out how to pay for that. So it's just something that we haven't been able to tackle yet. So they're going to come up randomly as they get older. Yep.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, I just want to make one comment on the budget. We've been through a very extended session, and everybody needs to realize that for every penny of revenue that comes in, it is allocated to a fund, and it is encumbered to that fund. So there may be a surplus in that fund, but to get it out of there, it has to be a vote of council to take it out. So as we go forward and something comes up, we can say this will be up to Mike and Gail to say, here's where we have money and where we can get it. But the big thing is too, is if you have a project that you're looking forward to do, I mean, now is the time to start thinking about putting this to Gail and to Mike so they can figure out what it's going to cost and where the money is going to come from.
Can you go back to the tax slide? There's just one item that I just want to clarify. Gil, yes, that right there. So we haven't presented the how we go through the no new revenue rate based on Senate Bill 2 and that calculation, but I just wanted to make a clarifying point here that the no new revenue rate of 33 cents is on the M&O. The INS is scheduled to go up. So overall, it's not, we're proposing, based on the certified estimates, a rate that is lower than the voter approval rate, but it is over the overall no new revenue rate. So I just wanted to clarify that because the 33 cents on the maintenance and operation portion of the tax rate there is the no new revenue rate. But the 0.12 is over the existing INS rate.
So then, so this is proposing a non-vater, basically, is what you're saying?
I'm sorry?
A non-vater, non-voter approved tax rate increase? Is that what you just stated?
Well, so
this would increase the taxes without going to a vote because it's not over the cap, right?
that is correct. And it's the way the no new revenue rate is calculated, it's looking at the maintenance and operations portion of your tax rate and then they apply percentage of 3.5%. Are you going over that percentage on your maintenance and operations? The INS portion it's required by law that we adopt a tax rate that's calculated to fund your debt, the debt portion. And so the theory behind that is, for example, the 2024 bond issue that was voted on and approved and to fund the EMS expansion. That is kind of what you're looking at, is at that 2 cents in the INS portion.
Mike, for our viewing audience, would you say what INS is?
It's interest and sinking fund, or what we call the debt service fund.
Very good.
Sorry. Yeah, acronyms. And so the debt service portion of our tax rate is the rate that y'all adopt that funds that current year's debt obligations.
Did that answer your question?
I'm just trying, I understand, I'm just clarifying for people that are watching, because I know I've had to explain this to a lot of people. So because we voted on the bond, that increased our INS, correct? And so in order to not have this tax increase or the VAT or non-VATer, you would have to reduce the M&O expenditures, right?
If you wanted to,
That would be the only way is to.
if you wanted to adopt and again, this is why I wanted to clarify, because if you wanted to adopt a no new revenue rate, I believe it calculated at 42 cents.
Okay.
And so, again, going back to the maintenance and operation portion of it, the 33 cents is the no new revenue rate for M&O. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
because of the bond debt, it is at 1.25 for the INS, so that's why there's an increase.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mike, if I could just, for my edification, this does not include an increase up to the 3.5% that doesn't require voter approval. This is just the no new revenue rate. Is that right?
Right. This is, again, it's over the no new revenue rate, but it's under the voter approval rate.
I got it. Okay, thank you. Yep.
And that's a great question. In past presentations, sometimes if it's tighter than it was this year, Mike and I will also sometimes start proposing what that 3.5% might look like. So I think for every 1%, I think it was $127,000. So I think to Councilmember Cervantes, if we truly wanted to take it out of general fund budget, then you could start to creep into the 3.5%. So we've gone very conservative, being a newer council, of trying to figure out if you want to stay at the very height of your conservatism, which is this no new revenue rate. But that 33 cents that we're showing here, you have a 3.5% until you get to that level where you have to go to the voters. So you could, in theory, you could add to this at up to 3.5%, but just on the M&O rate.
But correct me if I'm
Okay,
wrong.
that was my question. We have not added up to the 3.5% on that.
No, we've added 0, so you were at the base, at the base.
And any
Thank you.
increase would be mostly because of the HCAT appraisals. Appraisals have gone up, correct? So it's not necessarily like, a tax increase on our end. It's just as your appraisal goes up, therefore your tax bill goes up. Is it correct?
Well, the no new revenue rate is if you have a house that goes up by $50,000, what the no new revenue rate is doing is bringing the rate to where if it's that $1,200 that you're paying in, we have to calculate down that rate that's going to essentially lower the numerical rate to make sure that you're still only paying that $1,200. So that starts to fall. And you can kind of see it when we looked at the historical chart as the, appraisals are raising, the rates going down. And that's inversely how that works.
Right, you're just trying to like balance it out. So like,
Yeah.
appraisal goes up, you adjust the tax rate to where your, in theory, tax bill stays flat year to year.
And the new revenue, once we get the final certified rolls, if there's anything that we've missed or that Harris County's missed, that could be some additional funds that we'll recognize in the final roll. And that's not part of that new revenue rate. That's the plus, if we can bring that in. So new development in the future, we've got a couple of different projects that in the next 2 fiscal years, this could be a completely different discussion. But right now, it's pretty flat.
Any other questions, comments?
All right, that concludes my presentation for tonight, if there's no other questions.
Okay, if there are no further questions, the meeting will stand, wait a minute, what's our next meeting?
You'll have your regular meeting next week on
Yeah,
the
next
5th.
Tuesday.
Right,
So,
and then,
a regular council meeting next Tuesday then. And on that note, we'll adjourn.
Now I understand now.